Today on CityCast Las Vegas, Nellis Air Force Base has a new name, sort of. The airline you love to hate is gone, and it turns out Las Vegas might actually be missing Spirit. Plus, a top 100 restaurants list just dropped, and we're digging into it. It's Tuesday, June 30th. I'm Layla Mohammed, sitting in for Jesse Merrick, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about. Hey, Las Vegas. I'm here with creative producer Jacob Solis and local filmmaker, food correspondent, and trivia master Jason Harris. How you doing, guys?
That's my demand, is to be referred to as those things. Otherwise, I would have just left CityCast right now.
There you go.
Hey, but I'm happy to be a food correspondent for you guys. Let's get it.
Nice. Excited to have you on for future episodes and get into this 100 restaurants list. But y'all, I actually have something to start us off here. As another, intro to Jason, pool party season is kicking off. Great place to mingle with friends and learn new things. And something that I learned about Jason is that he doesn't have an ACL. And I didn't even know that was possible.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was wondering where you were going with this, pool season situation. I'm like, what pool parties
I had to go around with it. But I think because I am just obsessed with the pit right now, I did a deep dive on, people can actually be missing their ACLs if they snap them. So I'm very fascinated in that tidbit, Jason.
I hope you keep researching this until to the point where we get my ACL replaced.
Right.
Figure out a way, even if it's Noah Wiley doing the surgery. Let's get it.
Listeners, if you know someone, if you know Noah Wiley, let us know. But Jason, let's get into the news. Nellis Air Force Base is kind of rebranding. What's going on there?
I mean, this is a big who cares is what's going on there, right? It is now kind of known as the U.S. Air Force Warfare Center because we have to continue cosplaying, this kind of imperialist warmongering all over the world, right? So the two quotes I pulled when researching this the one quote was, the change was made to reflect the broader scope of work undertaken by the multiple wings and organizations that make up the U.S. Air Force Warfare Center. Whatever, bro. That doesn't say anything, dude. So
yeah, what does that mean?
And then Nellis says, no, we're still Nellis Air Force Base. The website is now referred to as the U.S. Air Force Warfare Center. I mean, I just think we should make this into a drinking game. Every time Trump changes the name of something or puts his name on something, we'd have to take a shot. Like next week, maybe is the Trump Air Force, Trump Warfare, Kennedy Air Force, Trump Warfare Center. And then every time he declares that we've won this war in Iran, we should also have to take a shot. And we'll just be drunk the whole time.
Yeah.
All of America is going to be drunk after that.
Instant liver disease.
I mean, yeah, this obviously comes after the Trump administration has tried to rebrand the Department of Defense, the Department of War. So in light of that, Jacob, how much do we think this change or website change matters?
Well, this is funny to me in general because, the reason it's called the Department of Defense in the first place is like a branding thing, right? Like post-Cold War or during the Cold War, the whole point was changing the Department of War to the Department of Defense because it was like reposturing after World War II, yada, yada, yada. This is all propaganda to begin with. So sure, whatever. Yeah, so calling it the Department of War, also propaganda, sure. This Warfare Center thing is just funny though, because it's such an unforced error. And it's also, I just have to say, the worst acronym imaginable, which they do keep referring to it as the acronym USAFWC. You're not allowed to put W in an acronym. It gunks up the mouth. There's nothing to do with it, and I hate it.
What I learned in looking into this is that the Department of War isn't even technically the Department of War yet. It still has to go through some approvals.
Nellis Air Force Base, I will tell you, obviously, we support and love all of our troops. I have met with them in the past to try to do comedy for them. So this whole thing is not a reflection on our brave men and women who are serving. This is a reflection on the upper tier and what are we doing with everything. I don't understand it. It seems unnecessary, and it just doesn't seem like it adds anything. To Jacob's point, Department of Defense makes you seem like, hey, we're here. We're going to kind of police as we have to, we're not going to start anything, right? Department of War is like, we're going to go out and, I don't know, we'll try to take Greenland or not worry about rolling blackouts in Cuba if they ever have power again, or, war crime the heck out of Venezuelan fishermen, So it's like, again, it's very clear where I stand on this. Send all your hate mail to Layla.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But I think you hit on it, Jason, why this does matter. Like, everyone in Las Vegas knows a service member. And so changing the name of something that is so iconic in the community and everybody knows immediately is just confusing. Is it going to cost more money? Or are they going to make any branding for the U.S. Air Force Warfare Center? And that's just going to, it feels like a waste of money at the end of the day if they are using that branding anywhere else besides the website.
Yeah, from what I can tell, there's like two chunks of this. And this is according to the Nellis Air Force statement, because they are trying to be like, no, the base is the same. And so the base, for those who don't know, is named after a World War II airman who flew like 36 mission and was shot down during the Battle of the Bulge. But he was from Nevada. I think he was from Searchlight originally and then moved to Vegas. But he's from essentially Vegas.
Yeah,
and
graduated from Las Vegas High School.
There you go. So before Vegas was really a thing, we should add. So it's been part of the community since the 60s. And technically speaking, it was founded as, I'll quote here, the Air Force Tactical Fighter Weapons Center. So when they call it the Warfare Center, they're like, oh, it's an homage to that. And it's like, is it? Is it though? So I don't know. It's just baffling.
I feel like it's going to be like when they tried to rename the Stratosphere, the Strat. Like, nobody in Vegas is going to refer to this because it's not an official name change. It's just, for the website. And I don't know. We'll see if it goes any further than that.
So I'm on the website right now. It's still nellis.af.mil, but it does have like a upper left Nellis Air Force Base emblem. And then the main center kind of title is U.S. Air Force Warfare Center, the Air Force's premier warfighting laboratory, developing, testing, and training for the high-end fight. And it just keeps going like, our priorities. It's an acronym for WIN, W-I-N, wield warfighting experts, instill multi-domain readiness, normalize next-gen capabilities. It sounds like the beginning of a movie where I guess now it would be an AI, but back in the 90s, it would be like Jean-Claude Van Damme has to fight the cyborg that they accidentally develop who turns against them, a universal soldier.
Exactly. So we'll see. Hopefully this doesn't, affect maybe the credibility of Nellis Air Force Base and how we see it as community members. I'll say about myself, I'm proud to live in a city with Nellis Air Force Base and no service members. So yeah, hopefully it doesn't change the reputation.
I don't think anything can affect the credibility of our military leadership right now, Layla. Take that however you want.
Well, all right. I'll leave it at that.
Hi, I'm David Plotz. I'm the CEO of CityCast, a podcast network that includes this show you're listening to, and also 12 other CityCasts in 12 other cities. And each one knows their city as well as your local team knows yours. So isn't it time we connected them? Don't you want to know how they're tackling their bike lane problems and housing challenges and sidewalk dog poop crises? That's why I'm hosting a new podcast called Your City Could Be Better. Because it could be. Every week, I'll chat with a different host in our CityCast network about what their cities are doing right and wrong, the weird things they're trying, and the surprising successes, so that we can all learn how to make our cities a little bit better. Listen to Your City Could Be Better on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, moving on to our second topic. Jacob, is Las Vegas missing Spirit Airlines?
It just might. So new numbers are out this week about flights out of, almost said McCarran, Harry Reid Airport. Speaking of name changes, so there are almost no operations from Spirit in the month of May that were recorded. And with that, 4.57 million arriving and departing passengers went through Harry Reid. That is down 8.4% from a year ago when they saw almost 5 million flyers. Overall, through May, air travel was down 6.2% at the airport, with a lot of that being domestic travel. That's new. If for people who've been tracking this, absolute sickos who love watching airport data, it's mostly international travel that's been impacted over the last year. If you've noticed, fewer people around Vegas, or in particular the Strip.
Okay, so domestic travel is down now too.
Yes, and the implication, look, hard to draw causal lines with anything. Lots of things are happening. Airline tickets are up because of the war in Iran, and jet fuel prices are all over the place. They're up, they're down. They're generally up as a rule. And so that's probably impacting the domestic market more. You add in Spirit going away, and we see what we're seeing now.
Jason, what do you make of this? Do you feel like it's all Spirit, or it's kind of a culmination of all these other issues that are hitting Harry Reid Airport?
I think it's everything. I mean, as Jacob kind of alluded to, international travel is down 5.7% from May of last year to this year. So that's got nothing to do with Spirit Airlines, right? You know, I think Spirit is more of a kind of an indicator of the situation at large in this city, which I know we've also talked about on my appearances, which is that everything's too expensive in Las Vegas for where we're at right now. You know, the pivots to kind of all-in packages and more deals have come a little too late. We've lost our value. The people in Southern California can go to Pachanga. People in the Northeast can go to Mohegan Sun, right? Everyone's got something right now where it's like Vegas used to be a destination of value, and now it doesn't. It seems like we lost our brand, our hospitality, what we mean to customers, what customers mean to us. And I think the air travel is a reflection of that. As you mentioned, fuel prices are up, of course. And the international travel, this is, you know, tariffs 101. You know, 33 or so % of our travelers come from Canada. How do you think they felt when they were like, hey, let's jack up prices on you for no reason at all?
I'm surprised, though, that other airlines, and maybe this, you know, this is all from international and domestic travel being down, other airlines aren't making up for what we're losing with Spirit. Like, we're not seeing Southwest or United or American add more flights to make up for what we're losing with Spirit.
Yeah, and there are some numbers on this. So Frontier Airlines is actually doing better. They added something like 400.
Another horrible one.
Exactly. But if you look at like what kind of customers flying Spirit, Frontier is the next logical choice. Frontier did add 400,000 flyers, but Spirit was serving 500,000 last year. So obviously 100,000 passenger gap there. Other airlines, I'm looking, you know, Southwest and Delta were a little down. American and United were a little up, but it's, you know, these things come out in the wash. So the reality is if you're a budget airline customer, there are simply fewer and fewer budget options available to you now than there were a year ago.
Yeah.
I think there's a lack of creativity, a lack of problem solving, right? If you're a budget airline, why aren't you teaming up with a hotel that's, you know, not doing well capacity wise and making some weird Groupon like deal where it's like, if you fly in, we have a shuttle to take you to the hotel, you get a discount on the overall package of ticket and hotel stay, and you make it so the value's back again. I don't know. It just seems like we got to be a little more creative to get our mojo back in this city.
Yeah, that's really smart. Have we seen an airline partnership like that in Las Vegas before?
Not to my knowledge, but I would love to see it because, yeah, you think about look, having flown Spirit before, when you're flying Spirit, the point is budget consciousness. I do not want to spend additional dollars when I'm on a Spirit bus in the sky. And so, look, if you're doing that to get to Vegas in the first place, then you need to cater to that customer. And Jason's right. There is zero of that right now. Even for, you know, you look at downtown and the way they've tried to cater to more of a budget market. Well, then how are you supposed to get to downtown if you are flying in on Spirit? You're going to take an Uber down there for however many dollars? I don't think so.
Let's not forget the other tragedy of this whole situation of Spirit closing. As my friend Bruce Purcell, the comedian, pointed out, hacky comedians have lost 5 minutes of material all over the country right now.
I mean, they could still use Spirit, or they could still use Frontier, which is like just a different font of Spirit, I feel.
They could write better jokes instead.
Okay, fair. But let's get some tips in here. If you're flying in and out of Vegas, what are your best tips for making that experience as painless as possible?
I still think midweek, right? You go midweek and you find the kind of times where it's going to be the least busy. I mean, I would just expect delays no matter what. I remember the professional wrestler Owen Hart used to tell, I heard the story, he used to tell people, just get to the airport early, no matter what, get a coffee, you're there, you're going to be there, whatever. And then you don't have to worry about it. So I'm not a good traveler. I admit that. So I think just cover all your bases ahead of time, get a neck pillow, get your Netflix shows downloaded. And, midweek, you're probably going to have less delays than just like if you were driving up to Las Vegas on a Friday from LA, you'd have to leave early. I would just do it the day before instead.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Jason. I'm not a good traveler. And I've learned the hard way that getting to the airport early, especially in the past few years, is not a suggestion. It's almost a rule now.
Especially considering traffic, geez. But I think to that end, right, getting there early is great, but you should also know what you're doing before you're traveling. If you're going to get in a TSA line, what are you not allowed to take? What are you not allowed to bring on a plane? What are they going to make you dump out? People don't know whether or not they're supposed to take off their shoes. People act like they've never been to an airport before, which maybe they haven't. But as someone who does fly from time to time, I swear to God, if someone just shows up to a TSA line not knowing what they're doing or where they're going, I'm going to lose it. I
feel like that's never going to happen to get everybody on the same page, though. Someone's always effing up in the TSA line. I feel like that's a given, and we just have to, on the point of being early, account for the time you're standing behind someone in the TSA line not knowing what they're doing.
That's the same person who takes their sneakers off during the flight. And it's like, come on, bro. What are we doing?
What are we doing? What are we doing?
That's rough. But I will say this year recently, I got TSA PreCheck after being so against it. I was like, I don't need TSA PreCheck. It doesn't take that long to get through TSA. I'm fine. And then I ended up waiting probably 3 hours in the TSA line in the New Orleans airport, and it changed me forever. Now I have TSA PreCheck, and I will say it is nice to get through that line fast.
One thing I wonder is my brother, I was at a film festival in Reno last year. My brother flew up on JetX. I wonder if there's more of an opportunity for kind of these, I guess you would call them private or luxury kind of direct flights from San Francisco or LA to be customer friendly, maybe offer one midweek flight that's a little cheaper that can kind of also help draw people in.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think that. On your note of airlines can just be more creative, I think thinking about the hassle of flying and how expensive Vegas is, it's no, I'm not going to go because everything's expensive. Flying is a hassle. I don't want to do it. But I will say another tip is just always be nice to the airport workers. In my opinion, that could be a reason why we're seeing a drop in air traffic controller numbers for staffing, because they get a lot of shit for if anything goes wrong. If TSA lines are moving slow, you're always blaming, or people are always blaming the workers. And it can take a toll on them. It makes a job less appealing. So always be nice. All right, jumping into our third topic. I'm excited for this one. The Las Vegas Review-Journal just dropped its top 100 restaurant lists for 2026. This is a fairly new project. I think it's only in its third year. Food critic Jonathan Wright spans all of Las Vegas, Strip, Chinatown, Henderson, Summerlin, mixing the big-name celebrity chef restaurants with the kind of neighborhood spots that locals are excited to tell their out-of-town friends about. We actually had Jonathan on the podcast last year, and while he did say he is the main contributor for this list, this is a group effort. He's not just putting lists out there and not getting approval or any insight from other people. There's actually a panel of people who help with this list, and it's a year-long effort. Jonathan also told us they asked things like, what does this restaurant do for the community, and what do they set out to do, and how well do they accomplish that? A few things that caught my eye: Casa Playa at the Wynn just won Chef Sarah Thompson a James Beard Award for Best Chef Southwest. Gymkhana, we've talked about a lot on this podcast. The Michelin-starred Indian restaurant from London gets a nod at the Aria. And this list also has a Hall of Fame section for restaurants that have genuinely shaped the city's food scene. That includes Esther's Kitchen downtown and Ferraro's that's been around for 40 years. There's also a little bittersweet news buried in there. Le Cirque at Bellagio is closing after 28 years with its final service on August 23rd. So if you haven't gone, now's the time. The full list is free to read on the Review Journal's Neon site, and we'll put the link in the show notes. But Jason, we know you have some big thoughts on this list.
Yeah, I mean, this comes from, LA Times, Jonathan Gold's 101 restaurants in LA. That was an essential list for years. I like Jonathan, right? We get along. He's played my trivia. We have fun. I do think this, if this is a panel, I would like to know some of the other voices that are contributing to this list and what they feel, because this feels like a very kind of one note list to me. Obviously, the great food critic, Greg Thilmont, who was working at the RJ before he died, would have been such a welcome addition to this, adding his spin. I think he gets up to the suburbs, or he did get up to the suburbs more than Jonathan seems to. Not to say, it just feels like this list is okay, cool. Downtown, Arts District, Strip, some Chinatown. And, like I said, it's not a terrible list, but dude, 12 steakhouses on this list right now. That's come on, man. 2 steakhouses in the Venetian. No one's kind of cross-checking each other. Do we need 2 steakhouses in the Venetian? I don't think we need that many steakhouses in general. It shows a lack of creativity.
This year, I felt like burgers were missing a lot from the list, and that representation, I wasn't getting a lot of great, other than the really popular ones, Stay Tuned is on there, but I wanted more burger spots.
My issue with the burger situation is that Slater's 50/50 is on this list, which is a chain, and it's an absolutely adequate chain. It's fine, but is anyone saying oh man, let's, if you're putting your 100 best restaurants out there, you're telling me that Slater's 50/50, a chain that's everywhere on the West Coast, is one of your 100? That's kind of embarrassing. Why not just put Raising Cane's on the list at this point in time?
For transparency, I will say Slater's 50/50 has been a sponsor of this podcast, but that is fair critique. Any major snubs? Jacob, did you see any major snubs, or let Jason keep going off?
I think just conceptually, I don't know that I'd name a single snub. I just say, for listeners at home, go look at the map. And it is immediately obvious, to Jason's point, that there is such a focus on the Strip, Downtown Arts District, and Chinatown, that in a little bit of the Southwest, there's almost no Henderson. There's almost nothing in the East or North Las Vegas. It just speaks they're not out there. They're not going to see what exists, because it's oh, do these people not eat? Does no one in North Las Vegas eat food? Surely one restaurant out there has to be in the top 100. So I think that's
neighborhood
the snub.
snubs.
It's a geographic snubs, yeah.
I got a whole list of snubs if you guys want them. So,
give me your top 5 snubs.
I mean, I'm just going to go until you cut me off here. But
okay.
Maybe one idea would be to take that Hall of Fame section and do it as its own breakout and give it its own Hall of Fame separate list, so you make room for 10 more restaurants that you could put on here. So right off the bat, have you guys seen any Greek food on this list? How about Vietnamese food? We have great Vietnamese food in this city, The fact that the Black Sheep's not on here, Jamie, and again, we're talking about Durango and Warm Springs kind of tucked away there. She's been one of the best restaurants since she's opened over there, Jamie Tran. Black Sheep is doing modern Vietnamese food with kind of French techniques. It's amazing. And she's honestly, the best off-menu dish I had this year was her riff on Indonesian fried chicken. So to not have the Black Sheep on there is a big one. If you want to go into Chinatown and you don't have Yen Viet Kitchen on there, which is kind of like a Vietnamese grandma cooking different styles of Vietnamese food, I think that's a big miss. If we're talking about going back to that Southwest area on Durango and Warm Springs, Tantan Katsu is, I know tons of people who say, and I love that place, say it's the best katsu outside of Japan. What are we doing not having that on there? I think some of the Thai places were cool. I personally would have had Kanara on there. I think Kanara is amazing down by UNLV. Going back to Greek, you can go with something upscale like Ilia. If you need another place on the Strip, you could have Milos. Obviously, Meraki is the standard of casual Greek. So I would have had one of those. And
Yeah.
if I can just throw a few quick ones at you, Raku, I don't know if it's on the Hall of Fame and got to be retired. I know Casa de Raku's on there, but I would also had a representation of our deli culture, Fisher's Deli, which I love. And if you want to throw 12 steakhouses on there, I'm not sure how Hayworth isn't on there.
I will say Black Sheep was on the list last year, so was Casa de Raku. And I'm not sure how they pick what restaurants carry over from year to year, or if they mention it one year, they're not going to mention it the next year. But I will say Jonathan and the Review Journal has shouted out those two places before.
Jamie was, I think, a James Beard semifinalist this year, but couldn't make the top 100 best restaurants in Vegas. Come on.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I also thought it was interesting that I saw some like cocktail lounges on the list that had really big flashy openings, but I haven't heard anything about them since they opened, which are White Whale and Pinkies by Vanderpump. I usually like wait a while after the grand openings to go to see if a place can, and I think I actually got this tip from you, Jason, maybe, but to see if it holds up. And I haven't heard anything about those two cocktail lounges, so it hasn't made me want to visit.
Yeah, I thought those were, I like White Whale. Obviously, it's downtown, so we support that. I don't know anyone who cares about Pinkies by Vanderpump, and like, just the whole Vanderpump thing is just not for me in general. I know Giada was in there this year again. Is Giada one of the top 100? Are they doing anything different than they did 10 years ago? Maybe. I don't know. But I feel like, again, we could have been a little more creative all the way through. And I agree with you. Taking those off would be good. To give some credit the other way, like, I'm glad that Shenwei Shan is on there for Udonese cuisine. And Friendly House Donuts is easily the best donut shop in Vegas. So yeah. I'm not knocking this whole list.
Yeah, they definitely have some gems in there, which brings me to my next question. If we could only pick one spot off the entire 100, where are we going?
I mean, I'm just going to go with the ones that are in my normal rotation all the time. I love Shanghai Taste. I think as far as dumplings go and xiaolongbao, that's the best in the city. When I used to drive back and forth to LA weekly, I would often go out of my way to go to Din Tai Fung, which is, 45 minutes to an hour out of the way in LA. Since they opened in Vegas, I've only been there once because there's no need for me to go because of Shanghai Taste.
Well, I'll say that when I was looking at this list and comparing it actually to our episode that we did with Jonathan last year, something that stood out to me was that Barcode Burgers closed since last year. They were on the list. And after 9.5 years, I think only a few months ago, they closed. So looking at this list, I was really thinking about if something closed tomorrow, how many times can I say closed? But if something shut down tomorrow, what would I be sad that I didn't go to or didn't visit again? So I'll shout out 3. Ellie's Chinese restaurant, which actually, like, James Trees brought his leftovers to trivia one night. And so it wasn't even the freshest it could have been, but their beef dishes were so good that it's been on my mind ever since. And I would love to see, them, like, I've been here my whole life and I don't hear a lot about Ellie's Chinese restaurant. So Ellie's, definitely, I want them to stick around. Monzu was a great Italian dining experience. We went on a date night. I want to see that stick around. And obviously an iconic Grits Cafe. Don't want to see that going anywhere. So I think those 3 I would want to patronize in support of them never shutting down.
Yeah, if that's the framing, Vesta is the top of the list because I buy Vesta coffee beans that I drink literally every day of my life. They are on this list. And look, I could not live without Vesta. And
they're popular. I don't think Vesta's in trouble, like in trouble at all.
No, they're not in dire in dire straits at all.
I don't think any of these are in trouble, and we love Vesta, but if we're gonna go that like you said, that is the framing device. For me, it's Cafe Brege, which is the best little French cafe in Vegas, and thankfully they now open one in Henderson, but pastries, sandwiches, coffee, it's just a perfect little French cafe focused on simplicity and letting the ingredients shine, which is what I care about.
Great. This sounds so good. I am very excited for lunch today because I'm probably going to hit up one of the places we mentioned. But Jacob, Jason, thank you so much for joining me on the News Roundup today.
Thanks, Layla.
Thanks so much.
That's all for today here on CityCast Las Vegas. If you enjoyed the show, tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our morning newsletter. Don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Las Vegas neighbor at membership.citycast.fm/Las Vegas. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Take care.